Folks, how many times have I told y'all Donald Trump is going to cause all of these crazy, deranged white supporters of his to go to prison themselves? Check this out. A white woman in Texas has been arrested for making dangerous threats to the judge in one, the black federal judge in one of Donald Trump's cases. Folks, this is absolutely crazy, this particular story here. And so, again, of course, Trump is facing charges in all kinds of jurisdictions. And one of them, of course, is there in D.C. But this woman in Alvin, Texas, first of all, she faces charges of threatening to kill the judge overseeing the case of Trump, the 2020 election case, and Texas Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. A federal judge ordered Abigail Jo Shry to be arrested and imprisoned pending trial for calling Judge Tanya Chutkan's chambers at the federal courthouse in D.C., threatening to kill her. Shry left a voicemail for Judge Chutkan calling her a stupid black slave before saying, "You are in our sights. We want to kill you." She also threatened to kill all Democrats, members of the LGBTQ community, and Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Shry warned investigators to be concerned that Representative Lee came to her hometown of Alvin. As a result of the threats, a protective order has been put in place limiting the disclosure of evidence provided by prosecutors and Trump's legal team. Now, in addition to this, in Georgia, Fulton County, MAGA supporters of Trump, they literally are doxing and threatening the grand jurors who indicted him there. The sheriff at Fulton County has made it clear that they're investigating any and all of these threats as well. I want to bring in my panel right now, talk about this here. Dr. Greg Carr, Department of Afro-American Studies, Howard University. Glad to have him with us, back in his familiar place with all the books behind us. He's been in Egypt the last couple of weeks. Candace Kelly, legal analyst, South Orange, New Jersey. Glad to have Candace back on the show. Lauren Victoria Burke, Black Press USA. They're out of Arlington, Virginia. Candace, I want to start with you. Do these idiots not understand you threaten a federal judge and you threaten a congresswoman, your ass going to jail?
They don't understand that. And the reason they don't, Roland, is because their leader is doing the exact same thing. And that's what they're following. They're following the leader. They don't even understand the implications. You know, the one woman that we're referring to that threatened the judge and threatened the representative, she said, listen, I really wasn't going to do that. I wasn't going to go to D.C. But she did add, but if they do come down here, if I do see Lee down here, well, then I will get her. She didn't even have the wherewithal to understand what she was saying in the midst of potentially being arrested. And again, that is because what we see Donald Trump doing to the grand jury, doxing people, making sure that people know everybody's information, setting it up, saying that, hey, everybody's fair game. And no one has gotten him yet, and that's why he is going to continue to do this until he is actually stopped. I think what's most interesting about this is if you look at other cases, in New York, for example, you can't dox somebody on the grand jury because they don't show the names. In the rape case that he was involved in, and he was found guilty of assault, there were no names that were revealed on that grand jury, and that is because of the simple reason that you want to keep these jurors safe so that they can carry out the law in a way where they won't feel threatened. So I'm not sure why in this particular case, which was so sensitive and racially charged, they didn't just request the grand jury members' names not to be revealed, which they could have done, but for some reason they didn't, and here we are.
Well, it's interesting because, Lauren, you actually sent me a text about this. I immediately looked into it, and that's actually the law in Georgia. When an indictment comes down, I was shocked by that because normally grand jurors are private. You don't know who they are. But in Georgia, when they indict, they literally, their names are listed.
Yeah, I was shocked by that. I actually thought, when I sent you the text, I actually thought that was a mistake. I thought they'd made a mistake and revealed the names. And then, of course, you went and researched and found that that was the law in Georgia. I was really surprised to see that. And as Candace just said, I mean, you know, the idea that you would put these people's names out and think that they weren't going to get threatened, you've got to be living in another world, an alternative universe to be thinking that. Donald Trump is intentionally trying to incite his supporters to violence. That is what he's doing. I give you January 6, 2021. That's what he's doing. He wants to get people riled up. He's putting out lies about Fani Willis. He's been doing this the entire time. And at some point, someone's got to sanction him. It's a question of who is going to do it. I put my money on Judge Chunkin, but who knows? I mean, I just think that this idea that we're sitting here acting like we're dealing with a normal person, he knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's trying to incite. He is going to continue to do it until someone stops him. This is the game that he always plays. And for some reason, Merrick Garland and all these people can never find the guts to do anything. I think it was Nicole Hannah-Jones the other day that put out on Twitter a pretty good question. And somebody put out that, you know, if this was some gang leader in some drug case and they did this, there is absolutely no way that that would go for more than 48 hours without some sort of court order coming out. I have absolutely no idea why everybody's waiting for something to happen to do something. I mean, we already have a huge precedent for violence at the United States Capitol. So I'm not sure what big clue has to be sent or what has to happen to wake people up to that this is what Donald Trump does, and he'll continue to do it.
Well, and Greg, here's the deal. These far right-wing websites, you got racial slurs. They're putting the address of the grand jurors out there. This is a statement from the Fulton County Sheriff's Office. Quote, the Fulton County Sheriff's Office is aware that personal information of members of the Fulton County grand jury is being shared on various platforms. As the lead agency, our investigators are working closely with local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies to track down the origin of threats in Fulton County and other jurisdictions. We take this matter very seriously and are coordinating with our law enforcement partners to respond quickly to any credible threat and to ensure the safety of those individuals who carried out their civic duty. If anyone becomes aware of a threat, please call 911 immediately or contact your local police department. Look, the thing here, Greg, look, these MAGA people, they really are deplorables and they are dumb, but are they not paying attention to all of January 6th, folks? They will throw your ass in prison. And some of these people are in prison for 3, 5, 10 or more years. So keep playing around and then watch what happens, because Fulton County, they are not going to be nice to these folks.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Roland. If you try to call them at 911 right now, you should get a busy signal. Why? Because they've already made the threats. I mean, come on.
Right.
What are you going to do? These folks have talked about a hit list. They've talked about sending death warrants. They're doxing them with that's a very nice car you have. Shame if something happened to it. Photos, home addresses. Forget 911. That's after the fact. These people have already done it. You know the difference between the Red Scare of the 1950s and 60s and mass hysteria with people pointing fingers at each other, or the Palmer raids of the 1920s with you had the Red Scare stuff, or for that matter, the 1850s leading up to the Civil War and jumping on the abolitionists. You know the difference between every time this has happened and now? Technology. You now have a virtual clavern. You've got a virtual clavern.
Yep.
Every one of these white nasties is deputized. The cops can't stop somebody from rolling up on somebody in a Publix or at the QT, or because they got their names, they got their addresses, they're in their social media. I mean, you know, forgive me if I'm underwhelmed by the idea that the Fulton County anything can save anybody from this. And correct me if I'm wrong, Candace, but the feds don't allow you to name the grand jurors. Now, you know, and then that's how you protect grand jurors. The state of Georgia, and I'm sure if we do a little digging, and I'm going to try to do a little digging and find out about this, there's got to be some Jim and Jane Crow reason why they allow you to name grand jurors at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't go back that far. But the point is this. Once you have put somebody's name in the street on social media, they are not safe. And so the other thing I would say is in the federal indictment, Donald Trump may have already violated the terms of his release by threatening witnesses. So if they wanted to lock him up now, there's probably a case to be made that he could already be locked up. But, you know, again, as you say, Lauren, they just don't seem to want to push the envelope, even when they have every legal right to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Candace, look, here's the deal. Georgia is a little bit different. Remember, for the longest in Georgia, if a police officer was being investigated by the grand jury, they had the right to sit in on all grand jury proceedings, including if witnesses were on the stand. That law was only changed a few years ago when people discovered it, when the Black Lives Matter protests were happening. And people were like, what the hell? This is crazy. And so this is the kind of nonsense we do see in a lot of these states.
Yeah, and it is on a state-by-state basis, and that's why we are here specifically in the state, because of the particular penalties that go along with it. There's more of a chance, obviously, for Trump to go down. But when we look at this, and you talk about the law that used to be on the book with the police officers, this is all intimidation. And what this does in the future is other people who are in Fulton County, who are in Georgia, once they see this happening and a lack of anything happening, they're going to say to themselves, I don't want to be on the grand jury anymore. I'm not going to respond to anything that comes in the mail. And that interrupts the whole process, so that people who look like you and me are stopped because of things like this that people are not taking care of. Greg is correct, and that is that Trump has already done things that are offenses that are worth people going after, that the police should be getting involved in at this point. But there's this whole thing about, making sure that they keep him in kind of his own lane, keep him away from the fray so that he doesn't use this as some type of a campaigning tactic. And they're really trying to balance things. I think that's what's going on right now. But he definitely has done things just like this woman, nonetheless, that are wrong and are offenses that he could be and should be penalized or arrested for.
Well, keep in mind, you have several people who are indicted with him who literally tried to intimidate those black poll workers in Georgia and went to their homes. This is what they do.